the commercial notes are very interesting because the banks get scared to foreclose. Like if it's a note on a hotel, or if there was a note on a restaurant many years ago in San Francisco. So it was a building with a restaurant in it. And the owner of the restaurant owned the building and he defaulted. So I was talking to the bank and they said, well, you can look at this note and it's a restaurant. And we don't want to deal with it because if we take it over, we don't want to run restaurants. They're going to be vacant. It's going to be, we just like, make us an offer. So I figured the amount was owed, the value of the building, I assessed it to be a lot higher. So that the collateral, the note, the mortgage note is secured against the collateral, it's trust deed note, right? And so I said, this can make a lot of sense to actually just talk to the seller and tell him, I'm gonna buy your note, give me a chance to sell the building and I'll save your credit. And then I'll even give you some money because we can all walk away with some money here. So when I called him and say the building, I'm gonna round the numbers, say the building, I figured it's worth $1 million, but the note was like 700,000. And I could buy it from the bank at 500. This is 2009, 2010, when the banks just didn't know what to do to get rid of things. And the building originally was worth like 1.7 or whatever. So I asked the seller, hey, you realize you owe 700, plus you have like late fees and penalties and this. And then he said, well, the bank is willing to sell it to you? He's saying, yeah. Well, how much? I said, I don't know, I can get a good price, but there'll be enough room for me to, if you allow me to put it for sale, and then I'll pay you, save your credit, and you could leave, or maybe you can continue leasing, or instead of from yourself, from whoever is gonna buy the building, and we can work it out. What do you want to do? And he said, I'll get back to you. A couple of days later, I called the bank. I said, hey, I'm still waiting for the guy to call me. They said, no, he called us and he's buying the note from us. So it's kind of funny. He got a friend of his to buy the note. So the banks were afraid to actually foreclose on commercial. It happens quite often. They don't mind foreclosing on apartment buildings, but there are plenty of notes on these, and they usually can bring some good cash flow. And what I like about commercial notes is you have less competition, number one. Number two, a lot of people don't know how to negotiate with tenants, and you can really modify these notes and work with the existing tenants in these commercial buildings to say, look, we can work with you, you can make this payment, you can make that payment, you know. Or the seller who can say, listen, let me modify with you if you just have tenants in there and you're the owner, you default, let me work with you, this and that. And there's a lot of creativity in them. Just make sure you follow the steps I said. And one of the most important one is have an attorney verify that you can foreclose so you can have that legal power. This country is set up for the creditors, those who loan you money. God forbid you don't make a payment to a creditor. You get massacred in the United States. I mean, the most important thing you must learn is how to build credit. And I gave you an example of CDs and credit and all this. And the second most important, maintain it. And then third, pay it off and be done with it so you can be free. And when you pass on your assets, maybe you should have a life insurance, so when you pass on your assets to your loved ones, you pass them off free and clear, and you put it in a living trust. You know, my loved ones will never have credit lines or debt against these buildings, because you don't want them to get into that. At least these buildings, they will not have that. They want to go get new buildings with their own debt. That's another story. That is only good in the beginning as you build it.